Okay, so disruption number 2, this one's probably no secret to everyone here. I mean, sleep is a big part of this discussion if we think about what's going to change our industry in the next little while. And what's kind of cool about sleep, or this discussion, is I will not show, like, it's a practical discussion. Like, who here thinks sleep is a big disruption? All right, I have 15 slides to change all your minds, and I will. Because I'm going to literally I just want to talk about, and Glenn Landry, I'm working with as an advisor on a startup company that's doing some work with this, and then I'm working with Glenn on his thinking about sleep and how it might affect, just from a lighting design standpoint, because again, it's like, where do you focus your influence to make sure that maybe it's going in the right direction? And that's why I have discussions with people like this. So, the facts. Right? So we've seen this before, right? Our bodies, this is a new presentation, so I'm going to have to like actually read it a little bit. This is like a day old. So our bodies live by a rhythm, and they're driven by pacemakers, right? I think we've all talked about this quite a bit. Our daytime physiology and behavior and our nighttime physiology and behavior are incompatible. They need to be different. And just again, these are the facts. This rhythm drives our physiology, our digestion, our hormones, and our sleep. You know, basically our light-dark schedule is the most important cue to the light entrainable pacemaker. So of the pacemakers that keep your body in rhythm, right, and this is the idea that your body works on a rhythm is Nobel Prize winning research now. Like it's fact. It's not wishy-washy anymore. So the idea that our body lives on a rhythm and it controls our digestion and all this is a fact, and the light pacemaker is the most important one. That is the biggest switch and the biggest lever. That's a fact as well. So another fact is that we've evolved as hunter-gatherers, a lot of us near the equator. So in general, our bodies work on a 12 by 12 hours on, 12 hours off cycle, right? So 12 hours a day and sustained physical activity, eating, etc., and then 12 hours of dark, low activity, no food. I think that there's some truth in this. As everybody's heard of intermittent fasting is like the biggest health fad right now. I won't call it a fad because it's based on science, but this idea that, you know, when you stop eating, you shouldn't eat for 12 hours later, right? Same with activity. So that's because one of the other pacemakers is food related, right, and activity. So research shows, and it's really proven. And of course, staying on rhythm is important for your sleep. So if we look at this 12-hour cycle in Toronto, say it's worse here. I should have used this as an example because your solar angle elevation is a bit lower than ours in Toronto. But the longest day is 15 hours, say, and the shortest is 8 hours. Again, we're thinking about a 12-hour cycle. It's sunny 46.2 amount of the time. The other 53% is cloudy or hazy or just low sun intensity, right? Not bright sun. So we only have 53% of the time we're not getting really good daylight. So the average amount of good sunlight is between 2 hours 23 minutes a day in December and 9 hours in July. So an average of 5 hours of good daylight. I mean, I've had the privilege, or it's a curse, of doing hundreds of daylight studies, I feel like, with my group. I've not done them personally, but overseen lots. And I know for a fact that, you know, if you're outside, right, even in the darkest sun, so bad sun, overcast day, hazy day, you're getting good sun. But indoor spaces, even with great daylight penetration, really aren't, I say may not to be nice, but really are not providing adequate light, according to the research, 53% of the time. So even if you have full glazing in your building, looking at daylight studies, majority of people in that space are not getting good daylight, even for 53% of the time. But in reality, most of us are not getting good activation 100% of the time. So all that, just sticking to the facts, it is safe to say, and again, a fact, that we rely heavily on electric light to keep the pacemaker on time. Right, that's a fact. Doesn't matter if you have a window office, you still heavily rely on electric light to keep that pacemaker on time. So what's interesting about this pacemaker is it's kind of like a proton counter. So I'm not talking about color temperature shifting ever in any of this. It's really just counting light. So during the day, it's like you're getting protons and it's keeping track, and it waits if you're getting enough, right, it's suppressing melatonin and everything's working healthy, and then it's waiting for those protons to stop and slow down, and then it'll start to secrete melatonin and start to put you to sleep. So what's interesting about this, and this is again Glenn, who's been studying sleep for 20 years, if you don't get enough light in the day, by contrast, because it's like keeping score, he uses like an ice tray analogy where it's like if you're getting good light, you're not emptying the ice tray out all the way, so you have stale ice in the bottom, it just builds up, you know. So you're not really emptying it out during the day. So at night, even 5 lux, if you haven't got good day, can throw it out, good daylight. So the worse light you get in the day, the more sensitive you are at night. So it's like we're really hurting ourselves. So the light in the day so good light in the day allows for less sensitivity in the evening. So it's not just about reducing blue light at night. We're all pretty comfortable with that. Everybody have F-Lux on their laptops, maybe. Have you seen that? It changes your color temperature. You should all get that for sure. And on your phones, too. Samsung and Apple have it built in. They have blue light filters. Everybody should be using that. Better light in the day decreases the impact of artificial light at night. So what should we do, right? How do we fix this problem? I did lie. There's one science graph in this whole thing. And I think, have you heard about melanopic lux and regular lux? So melanopic lux gathers its energy based on the, I won't even try to pronounce it, but the non-visual cells in our eye are sensitive in this range. And photopic lux is here. So this curve, and I'm going to start calling it the legacy LED curve, is really poor right where our bodies need light. So when you look at a fixture like this, so the fixtures that we have in the market right now are designed to really excel in this green curve, not in this curve. So how do we fix this problem? One of the ways is we really just need to develop light sources that have curves that have high lux to melanopic lux ratios. So that you saw that graph earlier that, I can't remember her name, she had it up. She was talking about like if you needed to get 150 melanopic lux, with certain sources, you needed up to 300 photopic lux, or 333 photopic lux to get 150 melanopic lux. And that's typical, right? Most of our LEDs are like 0.4 to 0.7 because of that graph you just saw. They really suck at melanopic lux. But of course, we can't overlight our spaces and compensate for that and use more energy, because how are you going to be? You're going to be well certified, say, and then LEED certified at the same time. They don't mix. So one thing we need to do is develop LED sources with a 1-to-1 ratio. So we need to adjust the curve of our LED fixtures so that it's more 1-to-1, and then we don't have to worry about all of a sudden asking everyone to work under 60-foot candles during the day, because people don't like that. People like 40, say, as an average, I find. And we don't have to spend 30% more energy by doing it. So that's one thing we need to do. And then I think the other thing we need to do is really stop thinking about lighting for the horizontal task and this task-centric lighting on the table. I think we really use computers a lot, so I think a lot of that's becoming less important. I really think the future metrics should look at light hitting our retina, and this idea that when we're inside during the day, the performance of the lighting system is solely designed on making sure we have adequate light for our biology. That's the biggest change I think we're going to see. And then the other thing is educating people about it, right? This is Glenn's contribution to the slide. He said you have to put this, like, you know, he keeps his on his main floor and doesn't take it upstairs at night because it's so bad, right? It's so bad for your eyes. So, you know, I think the big things obviously is maximize your exposure to bright full spectrum in the day. I find even like if you don't get good daylight in the day and you can't fix your problem at your office that quickly, obviously going outside helps. But even going outside for a few hours, like 3 solid hours on a Saturday, you can like all of a sudden, if you can just like sync up the rhythm even on a weekend, it can carry. So, my wife is so annoyed with me all the time. My circadian rhythm. So yeah, that's it. Lighting should provide us appropriate circadian stimulus, be comfortable, and add visual interest. Let's not forget that. That's like the new goals, I think, for lighting design. Start there. I think lighting for the task will just happen. We'll have enough light for the task.